Well, folks, this is kind of a strange video for me. I'm not only recording this really early in the morning, which is a tad bit different for me, but I'm recording it in my car, and there's a reason for this. But one of the rules is that we can't smoke in the house, which is perfectly fine. I wouldn't want to ruin anything in the house. So I'm going to smoke a cigarette here. And this actually may be the first time you've seen me smoke a cigarette. I don't smoke very often. Okay, to me it's not so much an addiction as it is an occasional luxury. I think it's tragic enough that our government has taken advantage of people's addiction, and they always say that, well, it's to eventually minimize the amount of people who will be smoking. The problem is they're not minimizing the number of people smoking. All they're really doing is increasing tax revenue. He was recently in the Rose Garden, and he signed this thing called the Family Smoking Prevention and Tobacco Control Act. Now, what this does is it gives the Food and Drug Administration the responsibility to regulate tobacco products. Before signing the bill, President Obama went on to talk about how tobacco-related illnesses are the leading cause of preventable death in the United States. And I was thinking in my mind, I said, well, of course, that would be if you exclude abortion. Abortion is way more preventable deaths on account of that. The problem with this bill, aside from the fact that that they're taxing something that the founding fathers would just be going crazy right now. They really would. But it bans flavored tobacco products like cloves and cappuccino cigarettes and cherry cigarettes, and even individually wrapped things like, for example, you have the Swisher. It also restricts tobacco marketing to children. Okay, now this would be like billboards near schools. Now, I personally, in Battle Creek, I don't know of any cigarette billboard anywhere near a school. Okay, I really don't. I believe they're out there. I mean, I'm not denying the reality that there are cigarette billboards around schools. But even without those, I think that children would have this tendency to kind of romanticize the idea of smoking. The bill, I guess that the bill, in and of itself, isn't all bad. It requires things that I've said that ought to be done for a long time, and I wouldn't mind actually seeing them. It requires companies to submit a complete list of ingredients in the tobacco, the paper, the filter, and other components, and it allows the FDA to require the removal of any additive it says may be dangerous. There's the potential that cigarettes could eventually, basically all be like American Spirit or something. And by the way, Philip Morris just so happens to be the advocate, not the champion, but the advocate in the public policy process here, which is interesting because menthol is the only flavor that isn't being bumped off. Mint is, but menthol will be able to stay. So Philip Morris, of course, wants to just get rid of competition. To me, what's bothersome is that the almighty government has determined that smoking cigarettes that don't taste like horse crap, okay, cigarettes like the Jarms here, they have a relatively pleasant taste and are aromatic. They don't make the house smell horrible. They don't smell nasty. They don't taste nasty and everything else. That is now deemed a mortal sin. I mean, they're going to be as illegal. What I have in my hand will eventually be as illegal as a Cuban cigar, and very shortly, actually. But the thing is, that's a mortal sin. But then you've got promiscuity, you've got masturbation. These things are completely winked at. You've got mild porn, if you even want to call it mild, on television. I mean, you can't hardly turn on the TV and watch primetime television without seeing half-naked people and people dressed in extraordinarily scandalous clothing. But it's rampant. Politicians, they continue protecting pornography as some kind of form of free speech. You have lawyers who safeguard no-fault divorce laws. You have abortion on demand, whether it's by medical procedure, whether it's through contraception. And that's even seen as a constitutional right just pulled out of thin air. Okay, it's ex nihilo. They just found it. It's like, wow, yeah, go ahead, kill a baby. That's perfectly fine. Smoke a cigarette of your own free will. Yeah, that's not too good. Unemployment is literally through the roof. We have a hellacious national debt. We have a government that doesn't understand any kind of limitation on spending. We are constantly going deeper in the hole. We have millions of people who don't have health care. Unemployment's through the roof. We're involved in military ventures, all over the world. We are imposing secular democracy on all of these countries. At the end of a missile and a bayonet and everything else, you've got this tyrannical war on some drugs. Okay, not all drugs, on some drugs, the ones that the almighty government has deemed illicit, where the government got involved in the early 1900s in determining which drugs, it started with opium, but which drugs would be licit and which ones would be illicit, which ones they would shove over to the medical community, and they would then be involved in the medical community, and the other ones were considered black market drugs. They were, maybe too pleasurable, whatever, as if enjoying something is in and of itself criminal. But this war on some drugs has resulted in this overwhelming number of people in our prison system. Our prison system is absolutely suffocating the taxpayer. It's suffocating our law enforcement. It really is. We are spending tons of money and tons of time attacking some drugs and people who are involved in some drugs, which, if you look at it, let's be honest here. I mean, I'm not the biggest guy in the world to go screaming racial profiling, but really, if you look at a lot of these drugs, maybe save for the advent of crystallized methamphetamine, you're seeing that a lot of these are directed towards minority groups. Okay, tons of people in the black community, in the Hispanic community, are in jail because of non-violent drug use. Okay, homosexuals are, they're beating down the White House stalls, trying to get Obama's attention to remind him that they want to get married too. That's perfectly fine, but smoking a clove cigarette, no, that's not very, that's totally unacceptable. We have all of these negative things going on right now in our country, and what does the administration and this Congress focus on? They focus on Critek cigarettes. They focus on this saying, you know what, young children might actually think of cigarettes in a positive light because they don't taste like crap. Well, that you were using that same argument when the only cigarettes out there all tasted like crap. Okay? The Critek, which happens to be, there's going to be 75,000 American jobs lost because of this prohibition just from Critek alone. That doesn't include all the other kinds. That doesn't include all the other flavors. That doesn't include all the individually wrapped cigars. That doesn't include any of that stuff. That's just Critek. That's just the cigarette that I was smoking just now. Okay, that cigarette company, 75,000 jobs are going to be gone because Barack Obama and the people in Congress don't like the idea that there are flavored and aromatic cigarettes on the market, because they fear that would be an overwhelming reason for young people to get involved in the habit of smoking. They have decided not only to sacrifice 75,000 jobs, but also to trample on a certain liberty. Okay, whether it's healthy, whether it's gross, it doesn't matter. It has been a liberty in this country for a long time, and they're trampling it. Okay, on this crusade to use the federal government as a means by which to micromanage how we live our lives.